Hey Deckers, Liam here. I've got another Steam Deck news roundup video for you, going over a whole bunch of stuff since my last news video, so let's get started. Firstly, Forspoken actually got 2 updates recently that directly improved the game on the Steam Deck. It's nice to see another major publisher and developer actually pay attention to make the Steam Deck gaming experience better. The first update includes adjustments to the HDR mode, spelling fixes and other minor fixes, but then they also mention certain technical issues on the Steam Deck have been fixed, and they also improved performance and stability on the Steam Deck directly as well. The second update noted that they fixed, amongst a whole bunch of other issues, it noted how they've updated the user interface size for the Steam Deck's 1280 by 800 resolution. Now, I love seeing developers work on this because UI and text size is just a constant problem. Some of the other graphical adjustments they did should also help as well, like them capping the number of NPCs displayed when on low details. Next up, we have updates to Proton Experimental and Proton Hotfix. Recently, Proton Experimental updates noted that Forspoken and Samurai Maiden were noted as playable, and they additionally improved sleep and resume functionality specifically on the Steam Deck for Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And shortly after that, they also did a quick follow-up Proton Experimental update that fixed up the 2K and Ubisoft Connect launchers not working. On top of that, Proton Hotfix also added in a very small tweak for the new Dead Space, because some people noticed that when you were saving and loading your game, the thumbnail didn't work properly and it just sort of showed something really random. It's such a tiny thing to focus on, but it really shows just how committed Valve are to getting their translation layer to work correctly on every single thing possible. While it may seem like a tiny update, Valve developer Pierre-Loup Griffet clarified that most of the changes were improvements to their DirectX 12 implementation to better support usage patterns that they hadn't seen before. So they're talking about the work going on in VKD3D Proton, which is their translation from Direct3D 12 to Vulkan. And obviously all these tiny little updates to correct behavior will end up affecting and improving other games in the long run as well. Next up, let's talk about Steam Deck upgrades, because the company Framework, who created the upgradable Framework laptop, where you can simply swap out components, has decided to jump in with the Steam Deck. What they've done is they've announced that they're now offering, just now in the US and Canada, 2TB SSDs that are compatible with the Steam Deck, because they're not actually that easy to come by from legitimate sellers. To me, this seems like a very natural fit for a hardware vendor making upgradable devices to sell components for another one like this. They did say in their blog post they're exploring stocking them elsewhere like Europe as well, so when I hear anything on that, I'll let you know. Talking about upgrades, let's talk about JZox, the popular maker of Steam Deck accessories. If you remember in a previous video, I talked about the new color options coming to the see-through Steam Deck backplate that they made. Well, it seems they've decided to do even more colors instead of just limiting it to 2. It was shared over an email to customers, but they've also sent me a shot of the email that I'll share with you here. So now we can expect to see the usual crystal see-through purple, blue, red and green all as options. They're not available just yet, but they're coming soon. And I'll be honest, I'm tempted just to get them all. They look so cool. Speaking of JZox, some crazy people have been sticking RGB LEDs into the back of their Steam Decks that have the JZox clear case. Whatever will people do next? I'll admit, it looks pretty damn sweet and I wouldn't mind having the LEDs in it myself. If you want to find out more about who's doing these RGB LEDs and how they did it, of course the links will be in the description. Back onto games a moment. Have you ever heard of a game called Wolf Quest? It's an animal sim set in Yellowstone National Park that has been quite popular and it's highly reviewed by users on Steam. It's also Steam Deck verified and the developer recently put out a new update to make it even better. In the recent patch notes, they noted that, amongst other things, they made big improvements to memory management, and they said that as a result, it should greatly reduce the chance of it actually crashing on the Steam Deck. So again, it's really nice to see all kinds of developers, big and small, focus on these things. Postal 4 is another that has been upgraded recently that mentioned the Steam Deck. It's also Steam Deck verified, and in the recent patch notes, they noted how they've reduced system memory usage and the install footprint of the game has been reduced by a further 5 gigs, which they said is especially good news for 64 gig Steam Deck owners. It's really nice to see developers not only optimize performance when it comes to memory use, but the actual install size on top of that as well. Even if you have a bigger drive or bigger SD card in your Steam Deck, more free space is always a good thing, especially when it comes to the shader cache, which can eat absolutely loads of space. Another bit of exciting gaming news here is that Like a Dragon Ishin that is coming to Steam has already been through pre-release testing and has gained a Steam Deck verified status. So hopefully this means it will see good performance at release with a shader cache already built for it. Speaking of games, Valve also recently revealed the top 20 games for the Steam Deck in January 2023 based on playtime, and a lot of them are kind of as expected. From top to bottom, the list is Elden Ring, Vampire Survivors, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Stardew Valley, Hades, Red Dead Redemption 2, Persona 5 Royal, Grand Theft Auto 5, Cyberpunk 2077, The Elder Scrolls Skyrim Special Edition, Fallout 4, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, Valheim, Brotato, Slay the Spire, God of War, Monster Hunter Rise, Horizon Zero Dawn, No Man's Sky, and finally Disney's Dreamlight Valley. Finally, for an upcoming release of the Linux kernel, the big thing behind that powers pretty much everything on the Steam Deck, work is ongoing to get everything supported upstream, so the main Linux kernel project, with more work landing recently that the developer noted adds in early support for the Steam Deck's controller interface. It currently only supports the controller inputs and toggling lizard mode, which is Valve's name for a hardware keyboard mouse emulation mode. It doesn't yet support any of the advanced features like motion sensors or force feedback. Now, stuff like this is important because it means eventually everything needed to run the Steam Deck will be fully upstream for any Linux distribution to use, and then Valve won't have to keep maintaining their unique patches in SteamOS just for the Steam Deck hardware, as it will then be part of the main Linux kernel project. But that is it for today's news roundup. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment telling me what you think to all the news and the video, and I'll see you later, Deckers.